Hi everyone, it's Karen, and I am back to try and do a tutorial on this cupcake doll, and I hope that I can pull this off. I'm kind of flying a little bit by the seat of my pants here because I didn't have a pattern or anything, and I just kind of went with my ideas, and some of it was, well, the hair was very difficult, so the hair is still going to be a challenge, I think. But if you didn't see her on Facebook, here she is. She's not going to be the easiest, but I'll just tip her back. So she's layers of tulle and laces, and there is a doily in there as well. And then she has just ribbons for legs, and she can sit like on a shelf or whatever, and these little legs hang over the edge. I'll include some pictures just so that you can see what she looks like when she's sitting. She's about 6 inches tall from the bottom of her skirt here till the top of her big hairdo. And she has a styrofoam ball covered with a nylon for her head. I saw a picture. I'm just going to set her down here. I saw a picture in Amy Loves Facebook group. And at the time, afterwards, I couldn't remember where I saw it. I looked back in the group and I'm like, where did I see that picture? But anyway, it turned out that it was in a conversation thread under another comment that Amy had put in, and Michelle had put it in, and she had said, oh, look at this cute doll. I'd love to learn how to make her. And I saw it at that time, and like I said, I couldn't remember where I'd seen it exactly. And I thought, I really like that. I'm going to try making one. So it was on my to-do list just for the last couple of weeks, I guess. And I had the chance and the opportunity. And so I thought, okay, I'm going to get at it and see if I can put something together. Now, in the picture, the doll's head is obviously made of a wooden ball or a wooden bead. And by my guesstimations, I think it needs to be about a 2-inch one. And I didn't have anything like that at home, and I couldn't access anything easily. I looked at Michael's, they didn't have anything, and Amazon is my sort of other source for purchasing, and I couldn't find anything on Amazon that was affordable. They did have some of the 2-inch size wooden balls, but they were way overpriced. So I thought, okay, well, I have my styrofoam balls. I've used them before to do my book angels, so I thought I'm going to use that and do the nylon on it, which I learned to do for the book angels. It just means that there isn't the opportunity to do a face, because you cannot, to my knowledge anyways, you can't sort of try and paint onto a nylon. I think you're going to run into problems. So if you wanted to make these with the 2-inch ball for the head out of wood, then, and you're really good at making faces, then you could put a face on her. So I'm going to put a list of supplies in the description box below. I will go through it right now, what you'll need. I started doing some of it ahead of time, and then we'll do some together and hopefully pull it all together, and you guys will be able to make one yourself. So as I mentioned, a 2-inch smooth foam ball, so not the foam that's bubbly, but it's called smooth foam. And I have a bag of them, and they show at 1.8 inches. I'm pretty sure that they were listed as 2 inches. It's a number 2 ball, and it's smooth foam. And it does say you can paint them, but it's if you don't put a nylon stretched over them. And then you need a nylon of some kind, and I don't have nylons anymore in my stash, so I had little pieces left over from when I did my book angels, and I know that I got them at the dollar store, so you can pick up a pair of pantyhose there, and that'll do you to make a whole bunch of them if you were so inclined. I believe I used about it's about a 6-inch doily, and I did the same for this one. I'm pretty sure this one is 6 inches. So a 6-inch doily of some kind, or you could just substitute lace if you don't have a doily. And then there's layers in the skirt. So in her skirt, I did a layer of tulle, a doily, a layer of lace, a layer of tulle, a layer of lace and a doily combined, and I'll tell you a little bit about what I did there, and then another layer of tulle. And the tulle is what gives you your big high skirt. So if you don't put as much tulle in, you'll get a skinnier skirt. And I liked how it looked, all really puffy. In the picture, I think that the doll that was made in the picture was entirely tulle, to tell you the truth, but I wanted to do mine with laces, of course. And then the top lace is actually a dangle trim, but the way I cut it to make it stretch out so that it could be made into a circle, I use that. And then a little lace, you need a smaller piece of lace for the collar. And then I did put a bow around her neck, so you need that, a little bit of piece of bling. I did a little decoration in her hair. That could be just about anything, or it could be left as nothing. You don't have to do anything there. And then you need some ribbon. I used 1/4 inch wide ribbon, satin ribbon, for her legs, and 2 little wooden beads for her feet. They are 1/2 inch, so you could easily use like a 1/2 inch bead as well. Really any color that you like. So any size 1/2 inch bead, wooden or otherwise, will work for her feet. And then I used tulle as well to kind of add a little bit more sparkle and around her feet. And in the picture, it looked like she had some kind of a tulle around the bottom. And then I added in these little acrylic little bows I had that are sparkly, but I mean, you could use regular bows, you could use little flowers. There's other, you could use other things than that, because obviously you're not going to have those little bows, because those are were in my stash, and honestly have been in my stash for years. And then the ribbon at her neck is a 1 inch wide, quite a stiff ribbon that I just tied in a bow. So you could really put anything you want at her neck too. Just pop her there where you can still kind of see her. And let's get started. Look at that. I'm like 7 minutes in and I've been yabbering. What I've done is I've started what is going to be creating her skirt. I've taken the ribbon, which I used I used a 28 inch piece and I folded it over, so it's about 14 inches long. And that's what I thread everything through. And then afterwards, I add a tiny bit of glue just in between the layers here, just a tiny dot, and then glue the next thing on. But the ribbon is going to be consistent all the way up through all the layers. And I've just put a clip on the bottom here so that it doesn't pull through. And then I will tie the little shoes on at the very end. That 14 inches should get you through, I hope, anyway, and still leave you, I'm just gonna see here. I put a measuring tape right on my desk so I could have it. I have left about 6 inches or so for her legs hanging out. And so that's what I would leave here. And then the rest of this is gonna go up through the layers. And it doesn't take very much to go through the layers. So everything you gather up, of course, has a little hole in the middle where you gathered it, and that's where you pull the ribbon through. So I've done 1 layer of tulle, and the tulle is 6 inches wide, and it's just the kind that comes on a roll like this. I'm not sure where I got this, but I know if you're in the US, you can get it in Hobby Lobby, and up here in Canada, I think you can get it. Sometimes you can get it in Michael's, and other times you can get it on Amazon. So 6 inches wide, and you need 3 pieces to go between all your layers. 1, 2, 3. And each length of each piece is going to be 24 inches. And then you're going to fold it in half so you get more bulk out of that. So that was 1 layer, and then I just put the ribbon through the doily. So that's the next layer. And so we carry on. I have some laces and things picked out because that's a process in itself. What you need is about 3-inch wide laces, and you need about 24 inches long for that lace and to gather up to create your skirt. Now that varies if you have a very gathered lace, like on her skirt, I used this lace here as one of the layers, this one, and it is gathered in the middle and has this sort of sheer fabric coming out each side. And I gathered it again along this edge in order to use it for her skirt. And so it had a lot of bulk to it. So although I didn't measure for that, I know that I didn't use 24 inches. I can tell you right now. So if you choose a really bulky lace or trim, then you won't need 24 inches. You just gather it up basically and you'll know. But if it's a flat trim like this, then you're going to need 24 inches. Now you can see this one. This was, and this is how you can create your pieces for your dress. You don't have to have exactly, you know, the 3-inch wide lace, because a lot of times you don't have that. This was a 6-inch wide piece of lace. It was connected here actually, but I sewed lace on, but it was connected there, 6 inches wide. So I cut it in half. Now I have two 3-inch pieces and they're 12 inches wide. Now I have 24. Now I've got my 24. I wanted it to look prettier on the edge from where I just cut it. So I took this lace and it's 1 inches wide, 1.5, 1.25, and I sewed it onto the bottom of these pieces. So now I have what I need to make a skirt piece. So they're 12 inches long each, so a total of 24. They're the right width. They're probably a little bit wider. They're a little wider than 3 inches, but that's okay because I can adjust that when I'm putting it on and I can decide where to start gathering. So that's a way that you can actually create the pieces that you want, is by joining two laces together. So I hope that was clear, but in the end you need 3 inches of lace, 3 inches wide. Your lace needs to be 3 inches wide and it needs to be 24 inches long, but you can create it rather than just have it. You can also use fabric. I found this fabric in my stash and it is from a lady's blouse, and it sort of was a piece of that. It had this heavy stitching along the bottom here, which I did not like, so I cut that all off. And then it's quite wide. It has this piece of netting at the top, so I just folded the netting underneath because a little extra bulk is not going to hurt anything in this project, and I already gathered it around the top. So this is actually a piece of fabric, netted fabric, but it's really pretty. It has these really pretty embroidered flowers on it and I really like it. So all I did was a gathering stitch, hand stitched all across the top, and then I've tied it together here, and I will show you how I'm going to put that on in a second, but I wanted to get some things ready. So you can choose fabric, you can choose lace, you can choose doilies. You could even use more than one doily and substitute that in as well. It's your layer of tulle that's going to give you your puffiness, and you could always add more layers of tulle if you use more doilies and it's kind of flat, your dress, then you could just add another layer of tulle. And the tulle is cheap. That's the thing about tulle, it's great. So I'm going to measure off. I have the 6-inch wide tulle and I'm going to measure off my 24 inches. So that's why I put the measuring tape right here on my desk, because it makes it super easy. I'm going to put that aside and let's gather this up. So gathering is not hard, but tulle is a bit finicky. I don't want it to twist, and that's what it will do if you're not careful when you're stitching it. So I like to pin it a little bit. Once you get going, I find that it cooperates better, but at the beginning sometimes it starts twisting. So I've just put the two raw edges together, and that may be hard to see on camera. I should have pulled out like a black piece of paper or something, but anyway, it's not hard. The raw edges are together and you've got 24 inches you're going to gather up. So I just start with 3 pins in there. I've got a needle ready to go. I normally like to use my long doll needle to do this kind of stitching with because it's really fast. But anyway, I got a fairly long one here. This one's a couple inches long. So all I do to gather, in case this is new to anyone or you're not sure, is you're just going in and out, in and out, in and out along the top. And I go as far as I can go for the length of my needle. And that's why I like the doll needles, because I can go a long distance. Once I get as far as I can go, then I pull my thread. When you're working with tulle, be careful, because no matter what big size knot you put in here, you're going to pull it through because of all the holes. So keeping it a length there. And then you're in and out, in and out. And this goes really fast when you have it pinned too, because you're not fiddling with it. When you don't have it pinned, you sometimes don't catch both of the pieces, and then you have to fix that. I just find it easier to put the 2 raw edges together. Like so. And then to stitch. In and out, in and out, in and out, the length of my needle. You don't really need your stitches to be that close together, and you don't need any kind of exact spacing. This is not that kind of project. The middle where this is going, you don't see it on the doll at all. Remember, that's running up the center of the doll, so you don't even see it. So don't get all wrapped up on any kind of particular length of stitches or anything like that. Just go for it. You can see I don't spend any time worrying about, length. I just go in and out, in and out. And I just lost one of my pins. I find that I edit the video because otherwise there's sections that are going to be way too long, and you don't need to watch me gathering up things, because it's the same principle no matter whether it's fabric or whether it's tulle or whether it's lace or whatever. It's going to be the same. I'm going to carry on here, and I am going to pin the raw edges again to the end. Again, your pins actually don't have, as you get farther along, it becomes more cooperative, so you don't need to worry about having tons of pins. But there, I've got 3 there, and I'm just going to carry on and finish this off to the end, and I will be back. Okay, so there it's gathered right to the end. You can see that it's already pulled into a circle. So all you really need to do is get your 2 ends up at the top and your tulle laying down, and I'm just going to twirl this around here, and I'm going to tie this off. I'm going to just snip my needle off there because I don't need that. And whenever you're tying off your pieces, no matter if it's tulle or if it's tulle is just crazy, it grabs a hold of things. It's managed to pick up a thread of some kind in it inside the tulle. Okay, so you want to leave a little hole in the center, and it doesn't have to be very big. Just think that you want to leave a little bit of a something so that you can thread your ribbon up through there. That's all you have to do. It doesn't have to be very big, and then just get this tied off. So I usually tie everything 3 times. I don't know why. I just think it's safer. And then cut your ends. It's really nice because it automatically overlaps, and you don't even see where the beginning or the end of it is. So I don't worry about joining it or doing anything. The more glue you put on it, the more glue you're going to see. So I wouldn't put glue in, especially with tulle. So now you're going to take this little circle that you made, and you're going to feed your ribbon that I showed you at the beginning. You're going to feed it through, and there's your next layer on. And you can see how much body this is going to add. Next layer I want to do is this pink layer. So I'm going to set this aside again, and these are my 2 pieces. And don't worry either about having to piece fabrics together when you're gathering, because gathering is very forgiving. So you're not going to hurt this project if you have to piece some things together. I will show you. That is exactly what I did with this layer, because I had this pretty little cotton doily and I only had half of this doily. And I had put these little blings on it and it was in my stash. I had it left from a project and I wanted to use it, but I only had enough for half. So what I did was I gathered up some more of that other lace that I had that I'd used in the previous layer. I gathered up enough for half and I just attached this little flower here with a dot of glue and this little flower here with a dot of glue. And then when the next layer goes on, you see all these layers peeking out, but you don't have any idea that you did any piecing. So don't worry at all about doing that, because you should be able to put her together very easily with what you have on hand, because you can piece pieces together to make it work. The other thing is I use a lot of things from the thrift store. So for instance, you know, this is from a top from the thrift store. So don't be afraid if you need some things to shop your local thrift store and pick up some things from there, because you'd be surprised how much lace you can get out of a woman's, you know, large or extra large top, especially. Like, look at the biggest sizes. And that works great for projects like this too. This one is the two laces sewn together to make the width I want. And if you're not sure where to start gathering, you want this to lay on the edge here, so that this is a layer, this is the layer, you can see the doily. In order to do that, I can see that I need to gather at about here. Now here's one of those big doll needles I was talking about, and they are great for this kind of gathering because I can go a really long way gathering it on this needle, and it's so fast because I'm just going, as my netting is rolling over there, I'm just going in and out and in and out and in and out, and I just keep moving it along. I hold the needle in my dominant hand and I feed with my non-dominant hand, and I just feed it on there and I just keep on going because I've got this big long needle, and it gathers a lot, especially when you're gathering something thin like tulle or netting or something like this, or even a thin lace. So there's the first 12 inches gathered on. I want to just double check to see where I should stitch on this one. So about there. And I can cut this off afterwards. Those two come together. This one will be bent down and this one will be bent down, and they kind of come up against each other really nicely, and then you start your next and you get a better join on them. That's just a little sewing tip. Years of sewing. I don't sew anymore so much. I use my machine more for paper than I do for fabric, but I did sew a couple of things for this. First one I ever purchased was a Singer. I think I paid like, oh, let's see, it would have been back in the 70s, and I think I paid like $99 for it. And then basic machine, it didn't even have a buttonhole attachment or anything. I mean, nothing like these machines now. But I wanted something with a buttonhole attachment on it, so I bought myself, and it's actually a separate attachment too. It wasn't like built in. And so I bought myself a new machine, and that's the machine I still have. And I think I bought that machine in like, I'm gonna say, probably before I graduated high school, because I took sewing in high school and I wanted the new machine. So I'm gonna say 77. And I still have it. So they last a long time, or the old ones do anyway. So I'm coming to the end. Again, I leave that final stitch is always coming out the top. This allows that to fold over. I have all of that gathered on here, and I'm gonna pull through my, so the needle actually accommodated 24 inches of lace there, all gathered through onto here. So I'm going to cut my needle off. If you don't have any of these, get them. I got mine, I'm pretty sure, on Amazon. and they came in a packet. You get a few of them, and they're worth it. They also are really nice for your hands. If you have any arthritis in your hands, it takes a lot of strain off your hands when you're doing hand sewing. I want to fiddle with it to make sure that it's all laying nice and that I get a nice gather. And I'm not worried about this in the middle here. I don't think it's going to be an issue at all. If anything, it just helps puffs up the layers. So I'm not worried about that. And I'm going to tie it off. And oh, and I want to make sure that I leave a little bit of room somewhere there. Make sure I can at least pop not my whole finger maybe, but get my finger in there so that I'm not struggling to get my ribbon through. And again, my number is 3, so 3 it is. Tied off. And lay that down. Oh, you can see a thread here. Okay, so there's that next layer. And I can take this, and again, I am going to put it through my ribbon. There it is. And next layer of the skirt. And look at how pretty that is. And that was made from a piece of lace that I cut in half, then added a ruffle on it to give it a ruffled edge. And look at how pretty that turned out. So don't be afraid to play with your laces and come up with, and it overlaps. One side overlaps really nicely and the other side is maybe not so much. So as I'm building this, I always keep in mind where I'm considering my back to be, because that's where I'm putting the openings. I usually keep it away from me as I'm putting these layers on, and then I set this back away from me to keep track of it. And I'm not even going to trim this off, because all that's going to do is this little extra bulk in the middle is just going to puff it up more. Not a big deal. Now this layer is a bit longer than the previous layers, but that doesn't bother me. And I wouldn't want to trim it now because it would affect the nice ruffle on the edge. So, you know, it's going to be what it is, and that's fine. And when she's sitting at the side, I can still, when I'm looking in the side here, I might have trouble showing it, but I'm going to try. You can still see how there's tulle, and there's a doily there, and tulle, and then lace. So you still get, you know, you get to see all the layers, and yeah, even the one I made, the first one I made, the layers are not all even. I have found that doing tulle in between all the layers is a good idea. Here is where I am gonna, again, edit this out, because this is the same. I'll just tell you what I'm gonna do, and then I'll fast forward it. You need 24 inches of tulle, the 6-inch wide tulle, and you can use whatever color you want. In my other doll, I used white, but then at the very end, I realized I wanted another layer of tulle at the bottom. And this was actually quite a significant piece of tulle, this first one, and really important that you start with tulle because it holds your doily up. Otherwise, your doily flops down whenever you pick her up. You get this droopy doily, and it doesn't, it's just droopy drawers, and it wasn't attractive at all. So the tulle helped hold that up. And I decided that with the pink bow, a little bit of pink ribbon, I wanted a bit of pink in there. So I thought, well, the bottom's a perfect place. And then it goes with the pink ribbon of her legs. So I used my pink sparkly tulle. So that's why I chose to use the pink tulle in the end on her. And then I chose to use it for her shoes as well. But you can decide what you want to use. It depends on what you have. If you have, you can afford to buy the 2 different colors. And honestly, I prefer the sparkle tulle, which is what the pink one is. You can see the sparkles in it over the plain white tulle. But that, again, is a personal thing. My white tulle is just plain. And so that's what I'm using. But given a chance to purchase, I would purchase the sparkly one. This, again, has just been in my stash for forever. Just to make your life easier, and you don't have to do this if you don't want to. If you and tulle get along great when you're sewing, then you do what you want to do. But I find it fiddly, and I find it rolls, and I don't like how it looks when I'm gathering it. So I would prefer not to fight with it, and to just put some pins in. And I mean, you might put your pins all the way the full length. You do what you want to do. But again, put your pins in and then gather this whole piece up. So you now have a 6-inch piece that's folded in half. So you have the 3-inch piece now, and it'll be all gathered up to go on the next layer. And again, I am going to fast forward this video, and I will see you back when I am at the end of gathering this piece of tulle. I'm back and I have it all gathered up, and I'm just gonna give my threads a pull here and tie it into the circle that I need. And again, just doing a little bit of adjustment with the gathers as I pull it in here. I have my threads on up top, so it makes it easier to tie them. And again, the hole does not have to be that big, and tulle is really easy to tighten it up really tight. So just leave it enough that you can get the ribbons through and tie it off. Okay, so there's another layer, and again, I'm going to bring her little skirt forward. I am going to lace this through, keeping my my split at the back, and there's another layer. So you can see how this is building up, and it's looking super pretty. Pink lace on the top, tulle, doily, tulle, lace, tulle, lace. And let's see, there we go. Skirt. And then now you're going to work on her feet, and you're also going to work on the head. And the head is got the hair, which is the complicated part. So you're going to pull these down to, you know, because you only need a little bit left at the top here. So you can pull these down, because then you have enough room to tie your little feet at the bottom, which are your little beads, whatever you've chosen. And so, like I said, the ones I have hanging here are about 6 inches hanging out, and then you want a little bit of room to work with as far as tying them off. So don't leave yourself skimped, because you don't really need anything left up here. Because you're putting a styrofoam ball on the top, there's no place to feed this ribbon anymore. So this ribbon is gonna get tied off. What I do is, now I'm going to just do a little bit of gluing to show you how to glue, and then we'll go from there. So around each, and the tulle I'm careful with because you can get burned really badly, but I use hot glue, and I use just a tiny little bit all around where the ribbon is coming through, and then I push the next level down. So this is where I'm pushing the tulle down on top of that. And I'm just giving it a second to adhere, and then I'm going to go, don't get it on your ribbon. The whole thing about it is just to get it around the ribbon, because the ribbon's sliding between, and that's not really where the glue needs to be. And then just, again, just squeeze in here a little bit. Be careful, it's hot glue. I think my fingers are made of steel now, so it doesn't seem to bother me. I can tolerate, you know, squeezing into it and pulling away fairly quickly and not getting burned, but you need to be careful, because all your layers the glue is going to soak through. So again, this one, I just want to put a bit of glue sort of all the way around. And it's a detailed glue gun, so I'm actually not squeezing out that much glue. I'm really not. And then just be careful that you don't pull your ribbons up too high and shorten off your legs, because the glue is going to grab on this ribbon as well, and you're going to end up with not enough left for your, so just be careful you're not pulling too hard on your ribbon as you're doing this gluing. And then again, a little bit of glue around the top of the ribbon. This one keeps on falling off. It's quite funny. It's fallen off. I think this is the 3rd time. And so putting that one back on. And again, watching to keep that your your opening is in the same place. I just think at the back is the easiest, because when she's sitting on a shelf or whatever, you're not really going to see that. And if you do decide to do a little stitch there or a little dot of glue, it's at the back. You're not going to see it. So again, I'm going to take the ribbons now and I'm going to snip them apart, and then I'm going to tie a knot. Now I'm going to put a little bit of glue in there at the base of that knot, and then I'm going to tie a second knot. And that's, again, this is just how I did it. You can do it any way you so desire. It's not like I had anyone telling me how to do it. That's what felt good to me. It secured it in there. They're not going anywhere. And then as a final little thing, I just put a little bit of glue there, and I glued that down there, and I put the same amount on that side, and I glued it there. And just to save my fingers, I just used my glue gun to tap that into place. And then I'm going to cut this off, because I do not want those sticking out on either side of her neck when I put her head on. The next layer is the collar and her head. I measured out, I had this gathered lace, but I don't like these toppers on this gathered lace. I love this lace. I think it's super pretty. Again, it was a friend gave it to me, and I cut it off that header. So now I have a flat piece of lace that I can gather to my liking, and it doesn't have that ugly header piece. And I found around 16 inches of about it's about 1.5 inches wide, maybe not quite, was perfect for around her neck. This is actually, the little one around her neck, I think is a little bit wider than that. But this one has a bit of a scallop, and I think it's going to show up nicely. Gather that up, and then I'm going to come back, and we are going to look at how we put the head on this doll and finish her off. Okay, I was just looking at how long the first part of this video has taken, and although I'm planning to edit it down, it's still going to be quite long. What I've decided to do is I'm going to come back with a second video, so you guys will have a chance to, get your supplies together and start, and then I'm going to show you how to do the head and the hair and finish off her feet, which is the head is kind of, I feel, is the most complicated part, so I just don't want to have it. I don't feel it's a good spot to be at the end of the video, because I think you're going to be tired, and I don't think you're going to find it enjoyable. You will see part 2, and you can head over there when you're ready. Bye for now.